Welcome to the Shoot It Straight podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to the show.
How are you?
Oh, I'm well. How are you doing?
Last time I asked you that, you're like, you never asked me that. I'm asking again.
Well, I mean, you really don't. So
I literally do. I ask that. I asked
Okay.
it.
Okay. If you think so, then I guess you do. We are married. You are the wife. You are always right. There we go.
Well, speaking of that, you did a good job on Valentine's Day this week.
I did. I sure did, didn't I? Tell everyone what I did. Tell how awesome of a husband you have.
No,
Gloat. Tell
if
everyone how
doing
great
these
I
things-
am.
No, because if you're doing these things just to get credit for them, then they're pointless.
I don't do things for credit. But
You
sometimes
do, Cody. You
No,
do.
sometimes I like sharing some of my good deeds just because I feel like sharing it. I'm not asking for credit.
I think that you want credit from me for sure.
Well, because I get a lot of negative credit from you, so I want to get my wins in and make sure that they are that I'm getting credit for my wins.
No, you did really great. We had awesome filet mignon on the grill, which I think is my new favorite thing that we need to make a thing for a couple days a week.
You have expensive taste.
I sure do. I like, it's not even that. I think like truly good meat though, you can't go wrong. Like, I mean,
Yeah, I went to a butcher shop. Like normally just buy our steaks from Costco, which are fantastic by the way. But I went all out the other day and had the butcher pick out a couple of filet mignons for us because Erika doesn't eat a ton of steak. So
yeah, I mean, it's because it's so gristly sometimes and really hard for me to chew, which is therefore hard for me to digest. That's neither here nor there. But with the filet mignon, like, that's a different story. It was different. And I want to eat more steak. I mean, I enjoy eating steak. I really do. Just sometimes I get like chewing fatigue, if it's a little bit tough or whatever. And yeah, I just think that was really good. And I want to do a repeat of that a couple days a week for sure. It's worth it. I mean, you and I we don't go out tons or whatever. And I think that's something that we enjoy. It's nice to have a good steak dinner.
I mean, granted, it was still way cheaper than going out. I mean, they were prime filet mignons, so I think they're like $35 a pound. So I think we got a little over a pound. They're like $45 for the two of them. So that's way cheaper than going out. And especially for those of you out there that drink, that is nothing. That's like a couple of cocktails plus a tip right there for some cities.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and we've done a couple. We did a going out with friends of ours at like a nice steak restaurant, and like it's bougie AF. It's like so fun and so nice, but it's like holy shit. So yeah, I mean, $40 for some steaks, like,
yeah,
I understand that that's more than $5, but it's pretty awesome.
My typical steak is $9.99 a pound. Those were
right.
Yeah.
So that's why I said a couple times a week.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what Costco has them on sale for, but we do love their meat in general.
Yeah.
So shout out to them. But today we've got a Q&A.
Our favorite. We love the Q&A episodes. We
like the Q&A episodes because, of course, they come directly from
you all.
Yeah, and then I think one thing that's cool too is sometimes we talk about some of the same things, not to say that we're on repeat all the time, but when a question is asked differently, I think it adds value for people listening that might not resonate with it asked a certain way. But when it gets asked maybe in the way that we're reframing it or whatever, like it begins to land on someone, or maybe someone has like an additional takeaway that they didn't have before.
I think it's about how everyone's brain works, right?
Yeah.
Like we all can, even though the question may be asked, that's the same question that you have. It wasn't asked in the way you would ask it, so you don't think that that's the answer that you're looking for. So
right.
I don't have a problem being repetitive, answering the same question but in a slightly different way.
Yeah.
Because it will absolutely land on someone differently. Same thing when you're a fitness coach and you tell someone 3 different ways to squat, but it's really the same way. But one of those lands more than the other 2.
Yes. So exactly. You're picking up what I'm putting down.
I am, which is good. That's good for us, for this married life, to pick up what you're putting down.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go. Actually, it's hot. You keep it so hot in here. I have to take my sweatshirt off.
Uh-oh. Do the folks need to pay extra for this, or what's going on?
No, it's hot. You really do put the heat on in this room, and I don't like it. I get very uncomfortable with heaters.
Well, turn it down. It's right over there.
I have layers.
I don't like being cold. I'm uncomfortable when it's cold.
That's fine. That's why we wear different outfits. It's literally fine. I'm
Okay.
back. And I got squat. Like, he's warm.
You got a lot going on over there.
I have a lot going on, but here we go. I think you're going to kick it off because this is probably one that I'm going to take.
Yeah, so good thing you got ready for this because
I'm ready.
this might take a second. So, how do I know how many calories to cut or to maintain or to bulk too? Let's just kind of throw them all out there.
Okay. All right. So how do I know how many calories to cut, maintain, bulk? Like, how do I know where I'm starting? Help me. Okay. We get this question a lot, and yes, it's asked in a lot of different ways. And I'm going to tackle it in order of operations in terms of what everyone has to do. And so, no matter what your goal is with your nutrition, be it weight loss, weight gain, putting on muscle mass, fat loss, like these are all terms that are kind of thrown out all into like the same bucket. The most important thing to know for you as an individual is that you can't assess how to get where you're going without knowing where you're starting from. Okay. And my analogy is always the Google Maps thing. Like if you're putting in a destination in your Google Maps, you're always also required to put in a starting point. And so that is the biggest problem that I have when we see these blanket statements of like this 1,300 calorie diet or eat this, 1,500 calorie or eat this meal plan or eat these types of foods. And it's like, dude, what if you're a 250 pound person versus a 150 pound person? And what if your activity level and you get 20,000 steps a day because you're a mailman that walks around on foot compared to someone who sits at a desk 7 days a week, right? Like we are all so individual. And so the best thing for us to be doing and understanding from a calorie intake standpoint, what we need is to find out what you specifically need on your own first to then understand how to get to that next level, whether it be that you want to put on size or lose weight or whatever. But finding your maintenance is step one. And we often skip to the weight loss part or people kind of, I'm going to just dirty bulk and just start to just eat a bunch of extra food. And it's like, you got to get to where you're at right now to understand what your maintenance calories are first. And then you can move on to the next step. And so in order to do that, I always recommend that everybody track their food. Yes, there are calculators online that can kind of give us general ideas, like tdee.net or whatever is like okay for people that have zero idea of like where they're starting from or where they need to be. But again, like those calculators don't take into consideration your health history, like what other like recent diets that you've done. Like if you've recently kind of crash dieted or done some low calorie diets, like that can affect where your metabolism is at. Again, activity level for a lot of people can be very, very different. I always say like people that work out 3 to 4 times a week in the gym, I think that's awesome. That's where I'm at. Spend 3 to 4 hours of my week lifting weights, doing whatever, like committing to the gym. That's awesome. But those people sometimes think I'm an active person, like I'm a fit, active person. Well, maybe, but like for a whole week, there's 160 plus hours. If you're spending 4 hours, 5 hours, even 6 hours in the gym, like that's awesome. But like the other hours matter too, right? And so activity level is a big one, and it in those calculators and a lot of how like different apps and trackers and all that shit work too. That's the biggest metric. I think that's the biggest like number in that equation that can vary the most, where people can go awry, right? Like again, someone doing 3,000 steps a day versus 20,000 a day is a big variance. Over the course of a week is a massive variance, right? And nutrition is the same thing. 100 calories a day is 700 calories a week, right? And so that is why precision does matter. And instead of going extreme in one direction or the other, no matter what your goals are, it's always about doing small, slow, and steady changes if you actually want lasting results. And so 2 weeks minimum of tracking, if not a month, but 2 weeks minimum, including nights, weekends, snacks, alcohol, drinks, nibbles, whatever. Get your average calorie intake over those 2 to 4 weeks to understand at least where your baseline is at. Note if your weight changed over that time. But just kind of eat normal, track, see where you're at, and then go from there. Whether it's getting an improvement just in your macro profile, eating more protein is a great place to start for a lot of people. We're often under-proteined, and so that leads to overeating of fats and carbs, right? Fats and carbs are not bad. We just overconsume them, and they're very easy to overconsume because they're not satiating, and they're in a lot of snack foods and desserts and meals out.
Mm-hmm.
We get meals out, we get 3 ounces of a meat, right? We were just talking about it. It's expensive for restaurants to have protein.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not going to give you 8 to 16 ounces of protein unless you pay for it, and you pay a lot for it, right? So yeah, you can do all the things when you're eating out and ordering food out, whatever, but focusing on your macro profile is the next step after understanding your maintenance. And macros are proteins, carbs, and fats. It's very important that we get an understanding of those things. And then again, weight loss, weight gain. I say for cutting, we're going 10 to 15% in a deficit to start. For bulking, same thing. We don't really need to be making crazy dramatic changes. And you can change your macros every 2 to 4 weeks. Be patient. Give your body time to readjust to those new macros. You don't need to see things moving like that.
Mm-hmm.
When we start dieting or when we start bulking, we will see the scale move up or down rather quickly in the very beginning. This is water weight. Everybody is like, cool, but my scale just dropped 3 pounds in a couple of days. That's water weight, 100%. There's more than likely like body fat, not just like melting off of your body in that amount of time, but because when we reduce our calories, we're often reducing how much food is in our system, how much food waste, aka like fecal matter is in our stomach or in our intestines, in our colon, whatever. Someone's going to call me out for that. And then again, water weight, just coming off from having less food. Less carbohydrate does mean less hydrate because there's no carb for the water to like hold on to, right? So a lot of that stuff falls off. Same thing when we eat a little bit more. Like we tend to like, oh, the scale went up a little bit. Yeah, like I wouldn't be worried about that. You're eating more food. You're going to hold on to a little bit more water. Yada, 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 yada. But start with maintenance. Take things nice and slow and steady. Expect gradual change. Be patient with yourself. But yeah, learn to track your macros. You don't have to do it for forever, but it is a great eye opener and is very educating for people that haven't done it before to understand like where you're at and like where you need to go.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So this question came from someone that commented on my story where I was talking about I'm in the process of cutting, and they asked me, you know, how I figured out my calories to get there. So that's where this question came from. So you did a really good job of covering that. And I didn't. They asked me if I relied on my watch or because I have a Garmin, you know, that tracks it tracks my calories. So overall, it'll say my 7-day average is 2,800. Well, that's wrong. As much as I love my Garmin, that's simply not right because I'm eating like 2,750 calories. That's only a 50 calorie deficit per day, according to my watch, and I'm losing roughly right now about 1.5 pounds a week. So the math just doesn't add up there.
Yeah.
So you can't rely on these things as great as they are for steps and for this and that. You just can't rely on them. You have to figure out what your maintenance is, which is where you're not really like having a fluctuation in weight. I think a lot of people find out that they will actually be, as soon as they start tracking that when they get into start looking at their maintenance calories, they're probably going to start losing weight just because if you are tracking, I feel like you're eating healthier food. So you're not eating out, you're not just overloading on calories. So people are going to feel, I remember a couple of my clients when I did a little bit of nutrition coaching, let's not call what I did nutrition coaching. I was helping people figure out their macros because I'm not a nutrition coach like you are. I know that's not my specialty, but they would be like, I am so full. And they're like losing weight. So that's a totally another topic, but just start figuring out what your maintenance is. And your maintenance, as soon as you change up your diet, you're going to feel like it's a lot of food, and you'll just probably pretty quickly figure out how easy it is to, I don't want to say easy, but you'll figure out if you just cut out all the bullshit out of your diet, cutting really isn't that hard if you just eat better food. And I probably didn't want to go off on the wrong
when I
track
have to wrap
there,
up, I have to piggyback off that just so we're crystal clear, because going into maintenance literally doesn't mean that we're losing weight. So we need to be careful with our terms.
Right, but I'm just saying, like when people start tracking, they start eating healthier,
right?
And
but
they start realizing,
let's talk about that.
And they start realizing, you know,
they're eating less. They're eating less calories, though.
Right.
They're eating less calories.
So it's hard to figure out your maintenance because if you went from eating a bunch of high calorie dense food,
yes, right? Yes, but again, I think it's important and we can disagree on this, but step one is understanding where your maintenance calories are as you're eating now. Because people do overconsume. People eat more than they think that they do. Right. It's the avocado toast people, the peanut butter people, the I'm eating vegetables but also having a cup of dressing people that are like, I'm eating healthy things, but it's like it's the low protein, higher fat content stuff that are not necessarily bad, but they're eating a lot more calories.
Right.
if we're just eating in maintenance, though, the definition of maintenance, so we're crystal clear, is that we're maintaining weight.
Mm-hmm.
So if people are just tracking where they're at now and just truly tracking and eating the same, they should generally be seeing like where their maintenance calories are. When we get into actually tracking macros, which is what you're talking about, and we start to pay attention to protein, that is when naturally calories will be reduced because they're feeling satiated and full from eating enough protein. So I just want to be really clear because that is a big one that people get messed up a lot. Mm-hmm. The second reason when people track why things tend to get a little bit better is because people don't want to have to track. Oh, I like to take this. How do I track a nibble? Or I get this all the time. So I just don't track it. I don't want to track it. So I don't do it. I don't have the nibble or the sip or the snack because I like don't have no idea. I went to the party and they had all these dishes. I just kind of stayed away from it. And it's like, it's not a bad thing actually, like to get into the habit of like doing the less picking here and there, because like I said earlier, 100 calories a day is 700. 200 calories a day is 1,400 in a week. Like that adds up and can really make an impact on somebody's body composition one way or the other.
Yeah. So it's just like another way to hold yourself accountable.
Yes.
Which is all these things that happen when you start figuring out what your actual calories are.
What doesn't get tracked doesn't get managed.
Right. And like, if you guys listen to our podcast where I was interviewing my swing coach, Justin Kraft, he has a app where you go on and you have to upload your golf swings. And, you're being held accountable to like working on your issue. Right. And if you don't upload the video, you're like, oh, I don't want to submit this because it's bad. So I go back and work on it some more. So kind of the same thing there. Like you don't want to calculate this in because it's bad. So like you didn't do it. So you need to work on it and do better.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing. It's just, it's a level of accountability to yourself.
Yeah. That's super interesting. Wow. That was a long one. So let's make sure we have time for everything else.
Yeah.
Let's slide into question 2. What is in season training? I guess spring is upon us.
Yeah. So when this releases, we're going to be looking at it'll be like springtime, be a couple of weeks before the Masters, which is what I'm using in Lift Heavy Swing Fast as like our start of in-season training. So like we're looking at like the, early April.
Okay.
Which is super exciting. And that's one thing like I don't think people understand about our Lift Heavy Swing Fast program is that it follows the golf season. So like right now, we are doing off-season training, and we're going to start our next 6-week cycle on. I'm trying to think. It's going to be on the 19th of February. It's going to last for 6 weeks, which will take us right to the very end of March, first week of April, in-season training time. So what is in-season training? It is where we are spending actually a little bit less time and less volume in the gym. So you're doing like less like reps and sets because you are anticipating, since you are in season, you're going to be doing those reps and sets out on the golf course, right? So I think a couple of things that people think what happens when in-season training is that in-season is for maintenance. It is not. If a coach tells you that it's for maintenance, you should probably find a new coach because you still can make incredible gains during in-season. And golf season is pretty long. I mean, we're going to be playing from April, until October November is when it starts getting kind of cold and like you don't play as much. So, I mean, you're going to be playing golf for a while. Yeah, so if you're going to call that your entire in-season and you're not going to make any gains and you think you're just going to maintain, I mean, technically you could, but I don't want to spend 10 months, 8, 9, whatever, a lot of time not making progress.
Right.
That's too much of your life to not make progress. And you can absolutely make progress on a lower volume of training. And lower volume does not mean lower intensity. Okay, so you can do lower volume, which makes you less sore, which makes you be more able to go play more golf without the added fatigue of high rep work. But whatever you're being programmed, it should still be intense. Like say, if we use a squat for an example, just because it's only 4, 5, maybe even 3 reps, you should hit those reps really hard to stimulate your central nervous system, to get that speed, strength, and power going. And you can do it without being super fatigued. So you can still use that strength and power out on the course, playing golf, without the exhaustion that comes from it.
Yeah.
And so that's really what we do. And I think there's a big thing of in-season training where a lot of people want to do more golf-specific exercises, quote unquote, on the golf-specific part. But let's think about that for a second. Why would we do more golf-specific, so let's just call golf-specific some type of rotation exercise, because that's what everyone thinks they are, right?
Mimicking the golf swing.
And mimicking, yes, right? When you're actually going to go not mimic the golf swing and actually do the damn thing, who knows? I mean, hundreds and hundreds of swings if you're going to go practice and play, hit hundreds of balls, putt, all this kind of stuff. It doesn't get any more golf specific than that. So why would we put more golf specific work in a workout when we're going to go do the thing that is actually what we're training to do? We don't need to do all that stuff. We just need to be mobile. So we need to work on our mobility. We want the speed to carry over to our golf swing. We always want to be strong. We want to have the good accessory work, a little bit of conditioning in there, so that way we can still, play 36 holes or even 18 holes. Let's not. I don't want to. I think a lot of that's out there. Oh, if you want to play 36 this weekend, you won't play 54. How about you just want to play 18 good ones without being tired, right?
Yes.
So we still need to put a lot of stuff in there. The sessions can be shorter. I mean, if you want to spend more time on your mobility and, kind of, if you just like spending an hour in the gym, you can definitely make the workout still an hour long. But the way I'm going to write them, if someone wants to get in and get out, be like, hey, I just got 30, 45 minutes and I want to get to the course. This is going to be like my warm up. This is going to be my workout before I go play, and you can absolutely do a workout before you go play. I watched Brooks Koepka at Lifetime do a workout, and then I don't know how much time he had. Probably just a couple hours before he probably went back to his hotel or wherever he stayed, showered, ate, and was on the course. Mm-hmm. And he was doing some heavy, I think he was doing like a 275-pound bench press. Yeah. Brooks is pretty jacked, and you love Brooks. But yeah, in-season training, just to sum it all up, lower volume, lower total of work of training, still very high intensity, less golf-specific exercises, primes you up to go play.
I love that. I have zero to add because obviously this is your wheelhouse, but I think that's great. And I'm glad that you touched on the whole, you can still make progress thing. I think it ties back to nutrition too. Slow and steady is the game. Mm-hmm. Being consistent is the game. The whole blow up, start and stop, which people do in the fitness space and hurt themselves, is what derails your progress. So continue to be consistent with your training, work on different things throughout the year, but in season is where it's at. You can still crush.
Absolutely. And I think one of the issues I see people do when they create these pre-round routines, it's just super lightweight and a ton of reps. I see some of the pros do it. And the pros are great regardless of what they're doing in the gym, I believe. And a lot of people are. It's just going to help you get to that next level, and everyone should work out. But it's just doing a bunch of high rep, golf specific exercises when you're about to go with bands and shit before you go play. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So
fair. Love it. Love the hot take. All right, let's see. Number 3. Can 50 plus year olds do your training? I giggle because 50 plus, truly I don't find that to be old.
It's not. And
I'm
getting closer and closer to it.
And I'm not even saying it though because of that. I think people put themselves in these categories kind of, and let's unpack this one. Can 50? Well, the short answer is yes. Of course they can.
Mm-hmm. Is it 50 plus because that just sounds like a big number? Is it because I remember my dad when we were in line at the Taco Bueno, he was upset because they asked him if he wanted a senior discount and he was like, that starts at 55. Don't ask me. But so I thought 55 was the senior number, senior living. I don't know. But 50 plus is the question I get in my inbox all the time. Can I do this training if I'm a 50 plus year old? And Erica's right. The answer is absolutely. I think, when we put some of the stuff on social media that I put on social media it's kind of catchy sometimes. And because that's just the nature of the game. I can't put all the little things I do on there because they just wouldn't get any attention. Unfortunately, that's just the way it works. So I think when a 50 plus year old, and I put that one in quotes for air quotes for you guys, is you may see some of this stuff and think, oh shit, I can't do that. And think that that's what the training is. And it's not. Try the trial and see that even if there are some things in there, I do put options for those that can't do a jump or or something like that. That's usually the thing I think people think is I can't do a jump or a super heavy back squat or something like that. And heavy for me is different than heavy for you. And you don't have to jump. You can do other things that make you explosive. But we have people in our training programs right now, 70 plus. I've worked with a guy in his mid 80s, 85 years old, that was able to jump. He hadn't jumped in years. And they can jump, they can move fast, they can lift heavy weights, 70, 80 plus year olds. So I guess 50 is just this number where people think they're starting to get old, maybe. Obviously I can't speak to that because I'm not 50 years old myself, but I've seen plenty 50, 60, 70, 80 year olds do our training very successfully.
Here's the thing. I think what happens, why 50 or whatever the number is that people can come up with in their head is the longer you go without doing something, the harder that it is going to continue to become. So if you're one of those people, whether it's saving money, whether it's dieting, whether it's like a fitness goal, it is never going to feel like the right time. And it's only going to get harder to start. So if people are just generally asking, like, is your program accessible for me? Well, yeah, it is, because really fitness is truly all about, and I'm speaking just kind of generally because I do believe this, like, we've been in CrossFit classes where, like, sometimes the run, people are walking it. Like, it fucking doesn't matter. They're doing the damn 400. You know what I mean? Like, and so it is scalable on so many levels. And like the theme of like today's Q&A is just like, fucking get out of your own way, one, and B, like, one and B, isn't that from like Home Alone? And C and D. One, get out of your own way, but two, like, acknowledge that you're not going to change things overnight, and have no expectations that things are going to happen even in a couple weeks or a couple months, and be patient. Because what really sucks when you're 50, 60, 70 is when you're in really shitty shape and you hurt yourself and you can't do shit. Mm-hmm. And you get sick, or you get bedridden, or you're injured and you can't work. Like, we're not thinking and asking the right questions and thinking about the right stuff. Like, it's not, can I do this workout? It's like, well, yeah, of course you can. That's not why you're asking. You're asking, like, permission to sign up for something, and hopefully, like, maybe if they say maybe they'll tell me that it's too hard, but maybe they'll also just tell me that they have options that are easier for me to do because I'm afraid of things getting hard. Mm-hmm. I seriously believe that. So if you're someone who's been in this cycle of on again, off again, on again, off again, it's because you're doing too much too soon. It's because you're expecting things to change overnight or really quickly. And you're not thinking about the longer, bigger picture of why you're doing what you're doing in the first place, why you're considering a workout program, why you're on our page, why you're thinking about it in your head if it makes sense for you. Mm-hmm. How did you get to that point? Something led you there. Something in your mind said, I need to be doing a workout program. I'm sick of how I feel. I'm sick of being injured. I'm sick of feeling like shit. I'm sick of having bad energy. I'm sick of not having good sleep. Do the fucking work and sign up for a workout program. I don't even care if it's ours. It's just like, that is the vibe. Mm-hmm. That's it.
And I get very good points. You know, I think you touched on injuries a couple times, so I kind of want to address that because I think that comes up quite a bit. I'm X years old, I have bad knees, or I have this, or I have that. And my question is always like, are you doing anything to work on those bad knees? Or is this something you plan on living with forever? Because you're eliminating all these things that now you cannot do in your life. And especially if you're only 50 plus, you know, can we get that fixed? You know, have you ever gone to somebody to see if that can get fixed so you can do these things? Why would we eliminate them? And you see this in golfers all the time. They have bad shoulders, bad backs. They don't stop golfing. They just start changing the way they're doing it, right? So let's get that fixed. Let's get into an exercise program. Maybe you need to see a physical therapist. Maybe you need to see a chiro. Maybe see a specialty as well that's going to help you do the things you want to do, because obviously you're looking at it and seeing that you would like to do that. You don't know if you can do it because of these injuries that are happened. So let's get those fixes. Obviously, interests you. It's something you want to do. Let's do it.
Yes.
You know? So.
Well, one more question. That was great. How intense should my workout be?
This is a good one. I think you and I have slightly different opinions on this.
Yeah.
So, do I want to lead off and you rebuke me a little bit, or do you want to lead off and I take notes from you? So,
no, go.
Let me go. So, let me go first, and then
okay.
And then Erika can, give her input. Just mind you, Erika's smarter than me, so I'm at an immediate disadvantage. So here we go.
Okay. With certain things, yes, but not all things.
Most men know that their wives are smarter than them.
Squat's going to start barking at the guy outside.
Okay, so here we go. So this, and again, I'm going to tell a backstory a little bit here. So how intense should my workout be? This came from one of our members' dads asked me this because, he kind of helps his kid with their workout program. So the kid does our workouts, and let's call it the Monday workout. In our program, the Monday, Wednesday workouts are where you're lifting heavier weights. So the intensity, I think, should be relatively high when you're lifting heavy weights, like you're doing things like a squat and a pull-up and deadlifts and rows and pushes and things like that. And in our app, at the end, it'll ask you what you thought the intensity was of your workout on a scale of 1 to 10. this athlete put in a 6. And the dad saw that and was like, hey, what do these numbers mean? And I had to explain to him, like, hey, you know, the app is as cool as it is and as great as Train Heroic is. It doesn't just come up with this like AI generated, hey, you entered all these stats in, your intensity was a level 6. Like that's what that person put in at the end of the workout. So he was asking me, should her intensity be 6 or should it be higher? And so my thing was, okay, in the workout, like I want you pushing certain exercises and certain movements pretty hard. Like if it's a jump, I want you jumping as high as you can. If it is a med ball slam, I want you slamming the absolute shit of that med ball, trying to break it. You know, so we're talking on a scale of 1 to 10, 8. Does that fair? That's a fair number. 8, 9, something like that. Really going hard.
I'm just gonna let you go.
All right. Now, and then when you're working up to a heavy set of back squats or any kind of squat that you're doing, I give many options. So this person could do a back squat, this person could do a split squat, dumbbells, goblet, what have you. Again, by that final set, I want you pushing it pretty hard. You know, I want to get some, because I feel like you have to push pretty hard to get your body to change and adapt. All right. So you can't just mail it in. You've got to push it. You know, again, I usually tell people 7 to 8 on those. All right. On a scale of 1 to 10, we call it the rate of perceived exertion. All right. Then when you move on down the workout, things start to kind of taper off because for one, you're also you're running out of energy too towards the end of the workout. So things aren't gonna be like, we have accessory stuff in our workout. We have a finisher that's like a cardio focused thing. So towards the end, you know, the intensity could be high, it could be not. So I wonder if the person put the number 6 at the end because they just got done doing a stretch at the end, which is pretty low intensity. So then they kind of forgot how high intensity the jumps and the slams were, and they just kind of averaged it out at a 6, which is perfectly fine. But I think there's a number in there, and I think I want you pushing a little bit harder than 6. But again, it's all kind of that. It's an objective thing for that individual person on what they feel that workout was. And then we have workouts like on Saturdays, for example, that are high intensity training because it's a conditioning day. Those are days, and they're shorter, like they're made like maybe like 30-minute workouts, but they should be pretty high intensity. Like your heart rate should be pretty jacked. Like we're talking like zone 5, like for a little bit. Like you're dipping into that really, really high heart rate level briefly and then dropping out of it. That's high intensity interval training. And I get people in there that, oh my God, I died doing that workout. That's a 10. You know, I went all out. So that's just like, was that just a cardio challenge for you on that one, but you didn't push it on the strength because you're strong? And I think there's so many ways we can go about this, but I think my overall message is like, how intense should my workout be? It should be intense enough to where you are going to get an adaptation and your body's going to physically change from that workout. Could it be a 6? Maybe. Could it be a 10? I don't think so. I don't think you need to go 10 out of 10, you know, very often, if at all. Let's say not very often. But I mean, for me, I probably call my workouts more of like a 7 or an 8 or a 9. But now we're just kind of splitting hairs a little bit on how I feel they are. But like anytime I see like a heavy, because I mean, and, you know, it's just how I'm made too. Like if I see a heavy squat, I want to hit it hard because I also just love those. If I see a heavy deadlift, I want to hit it hard. If I see a heavy press, and then, you know, I'm going to push those a little bit harder for me. So I don't know if I really answered the question well, but intense enough that your body will adapt and change to get better.
Yeah, that's like the TDLR of it for sure. And I agree with that. Like that's the point of working out is there should be a stimulus. Mailing it in, I think is like, this is one of my number one like pet peeves of just kind of looking at people in the gym is seeing people that you can just kind of tell when they're checking the box. And again, I don't know what their program is or if it's their like recovery day, right? So it's like I'm out there like judging and I'm calling myself out for it, but it's like don't do that. We don't know where people are at. Same with like seeing someone doing a half rep of something, like maybe they're working through an injury, like whatever. But this is actually more coming from like seeing the same people over and over again, like in my Group X classes that I used to coach or even that I participated in for years. And like people would kind of like just be in the same place for years, like in their fitness and like kind of wonder why they weren't getting better. And it's because they like checked the box. They were either coming just to come. They were hungover from the night before. So they're just trying to like sweat out. They're coming too frequently. So if you're doing something 6 to 7 days a week and not recovering, there's no way you're doing 7 days a week. That's literally impossible, right? So their pace was terrible. Their lifts weren't getting heavier. Like you cannot ramp up intensity if you're also kind of doing the whole like, and I don't know if endurance is the right term for the person that's just going and just moving and sweating multiple days in a row without like recovering, right? So I totally agree with you there. And I think, you know, most people are in this category, to be honest. We're speaking to a small population when we're speaking to people that are dialing it up hard and almost need to tell those people to back off. Those are less popular, but most people need to be told to push themselves a little bit more in the gym, which is what I think that you're speaking to. And I think like our athletes are kind of a mix of our athletes kind of are intent. I feel like we're a blend. I don't know. Like, I don't know the answer to that actually.
And we've got some pretty hardcore people.
We do have some hardcore people.
Yeah.
But like generally, people need to up it. People need more recovery days and to learn how to do intensity because they need to get a stimulus. They need to fucking get a stimulus. You're not getting faster because you're literally not pushing yourself. You are not lifting heavy. You don't want to take rest breaks between your lifting sets, and you want to be doing some circuit shit because you didn't push hard enough. Like, you should want those fucking rest periods after a hard squat or whatever. So there's that. But the other piece, like that, where I like just come in just in a different angle is like, it's subjective as fuck. Like, there's no way around it. Like, how intense should my workout be? Well, everyone's idea of like intensity obviously is very different. We've all trained those clients that are like, oh my God, like this hurts. And you're like, dude, like we're doing a bicep curl, like calm down. You know what I mean? Like, there's people like that. And then there's also people that like, typically women, who will like grit through painful things almost to a fault. And you're like, whoa, like, okay, we need to back off. Right. Women, I think sometimes tend to like, and I'm not being sexist, it's just like, we can kind of tolerate pain, I think, a little bit more. Cause that's 100%. Just something that we've unfortunately had to do. But it's subjective. So for your athlete that was a young, like a teenage female, it's interesting that she chose a 6, but I also choose 6 a lot for my intensity on my app. And again, we're like, it's based on how we feel in a workout or whatever. But like, my hot take is like, I don't want to be going level 10 or even level 9. Those to me they're very high. I look at 9s and 10s as like competitive intensity. Like if you're competing, if you're racing, whatever you're doing that day, like that's a 9 and a 10. And then like my training should never really be touching that, other than maybe like a once a week sort of situation or one working set or something like that. Like, that's almost like too much. Mm-hmm. But again, like to your point too, it's individual, maybe per exercise, maybe like, because we also program like good little mini metcons too sometimes at the end of a workout. And so yeah, like maybe the intensity for that specific 5 minutes is high, but you're not going to harm your gains or anything like that doing 5 minutes a week of something very intense. Like, so my whole thing is just that it's subjective. It also can be subjective based on the day for a person. Some people, if you had a bad night of sleep, if you had drinks the night before, if you have a lot of stress going on in your life, your intensity one week could be really different than the next week. Mm-hmm. Women and their cycles, I've used this analogy before, but it's just like not an analogy, it's an example. It's like, it is true. Like, sometimes you like just cannot pick up the weight that you did the week before, depending on where you're at in your cycle. And so it's okay to like kind of have like a waxing and waning like intensity level, but I think like the majority of people need to learn how to push it. I do think it's okay to kind of over push it a little bit in the beginning, or if you haven't trained in a while, to like learn your boundary, sort of back to like your maintenance, but like know where you're at, and then you can know how to like dial it back. Like, oh fuck, I'm sore for 3 days after that. You probably went a little bit too hard. That's okay. Now you can evaluate and like reassess. Like, it's okay to have some workouts that like recalibrate you. I did that recently too. I was like pushing a sled for the first time in a while, and I didn't do a lot, but I think I went kind of hard at it, and I was just like extremely sore for like 3 days, and I was like, that was like the most. Like, I didn't need to do that, or I shouldn't. Something wasn't right. Like, so I mean, that's just kind of my take on intensity. It is subjective. It's important for people to know that, but like, don't be afraid to push the intensity. We do want the intensity to be there because that's what gives you the stimulus that makes you better. And then moreover, the rest days in between those intensity days are also very important, because that's when your body is rebuilding itself and recovering and adapting. Yeah.
And I think another part to this guy's question was kind of wanted my input on how hard my workout should be. And I used to drive me nuts when someone would come when I was coaching group fitness. at a place where we got to create our own workouts, and they'd come to me and be like, hey, I'm here because someone said your workouts are the hardest. I'm like, how does that really even happen? Because, for example, I worked at another place, and this is where Erika and I met. It's a place called Elevate in Washington, D.C., where I didn't write the workouts. The owner/head coach wrote the workouts, and I would just, deliver them essentially. I would coach them. And you're delivering the exact same workout to 24 people at a time. And you would see at the end of class, a couple people on the floor, covered in sweat, absolutely dead. Erika was one of them. One of these people just worked her ass off. High intensity. They did the workout as prescribed. And then at the end of the class, exact same workout. You got two people in the back chit-chatting, barely broken a sweat, out the door, hanging out, grabbing a drink or a cup of coffee, like immediately after, like no need to cool down, no need to like have some water, like they were fine. So no matter what workout you do, it's up to you to push it. You can't put the onus on the person that wrote the workout. Even if someone just wrote a workout that has 3 exercises in it, you could push it hard. It could be a 9 out of 10 if you really wanted it to be.
Yeah.
So it's not so much what type of workout you're doing. It's on you.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. That was a good way to wrap it up. That's
all
we got.
I think that was a good way to wrap it up, actually. It's on you.
It's on you. And with that, take yourself to codywescottgolf.com/links. That's where you'll find everything you need to know about our programs. We've got free trials. We've got our newsletter sign up, all of our other podcasts and YouTube kind of channel situations. We've got lots of exercises and movement videos, lots of how-tos on our YouTube channel. So check that out, codywescottgolf.com/links. And we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.